Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me welcome you at our FP&A Trends Webinar. My name is Olga Rudakova. I'm a FP&A professional, data storytelling trainer, and dashboard design consultant. I'm happy to facilitate this event for you today. Today we are going to look inside the crystal ball, and we will speak about top trends shaping FP&A in the next year, 2024, and even beyond. Let me start by sharing the agenda with you. First of all, I'm going to speak about some FP&A challenges and trends we already see now in 2023. We will certainly talk about technology trends to look out for and how it drives changes in connected areas. We will speak about strategic partnership skill set. We will speak about change management and cooperation. We'll certainly go through conclusions, recommendations, and we will finish with Q&A session. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers for the event. Please join me here on the camera, and I will start introducing you all one by one. I will start with you, Pras. Pras Chatterjee is a Senior Director for Planning and Analysis at SAP. Pras is an expert with strong finance and information systems knowledge gained in various Fortune 500 organizations. Pras, thank you for joining us today.
Olga, thank you so much for having me here.
Our second speaker for the event will be Svetlana Sigalova. Svetlana is Vice President for FP&A at Moderna. She has experience in various functions and corporate FP&A roles such as business development, long-range planning and evaluation, corporate P&L and sales management, and she was supporting several major vaccine launches. Svetlana, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And the last speaker for the evening will be Karina Williams. Karina is a business unit C4 at Veolia Water Technologies and Solutions. Karina, through her career, Karina has worked in Germany and United States at the Fortune 500 financial services company in logistics and now in environmental services. Karina, thank you for accepting our invite.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Now, let me thank our global technology sponsor for making this event possible. It is SAP, one of the world's leading providers of modern FP&A solutions. Besides that, let me remind you what FP&A Trends Group actually is. You probably know us since you are already attending our webinar, so you are already a part of our digital community. Besides that, we have face-to-face community presented in 32 cities, 18 countries, and 4 continents. Besides that, we have various education, research, and consulting resources. We are a huge group of people. This webinar alone has attracted over 400 registrations from 72 different countries. What we can expect tonight? It will be 1 hour webinar, quite a packed one. We will have 2 interactive polls. We'll have Q&A session, and you already can send your questions through the chat box. Presentation for this event is already available in handout section of this software. Besides that, you will receive the recording and presentation after the meeting. Don't leave right after the event. Spend 1 minute with us for a survey, which is very important for us. Let me start tonight by showing you a couple of slides I carefully picked out of our FP&A Trends survey, because our FP&A Trends survey is quite a good indicator of trends which are already happening in FP&A world. We conduct this survey every year, so by comparing results to each other, we actually see many interesting things. And the first one I want to show you is related to data access and data quality. what we have noticed that less and less companies state that they have poor data access and data quality, that they work with multiple sources, they don't rely much on their data, which is hard to analyze. On the other hand, 33% is still quite a high figure. And this declining number is not declining fast enough. So what we can do about that? What are the trends in this area we anticipate? We'll certainly discuss that. Another thing to cover is actually related to our FP&A skills. And if you look at our skill set, we actually see that business partnering is gaining more and more significance. It's actually eating out the share of analytical skills, which remain quite important as well. But business partnering involves exactly what we call human and social part of us, something that's hard to take from us by artificial intelligence. And we'll certainly discuss what skills relate to business partnering, what we should focus on. And besides that, there is one more trend I want to cover that relates to predictive analytics and artificial intelligence or machine learning. What we actually see that companies are becoming more and more skeptical in this area. We actually see less companies currently leveraging machine learning or predictive analytics, and we have more companies not really planning to start using it in the near future. I have to mention that survey was conveyed in the middle of the year, in summer. So let's see what has changed since then, what other trends we can anticipate. Who else can speak about all those technology trends better than Pras Chatterjee? Pras will cover the topic, technology trends to look out for. Pras, it is yours.
Thank you so much, Olga, and thank you, everyone. And we're looking forward to speaking about this really exciting topic. So when it comes to technology, the trends that I see that are really going to drive all of us in the FP&A space going forward in 2024 and beyond are everything to do with data that Olga set the platform for. We know that data is a challenge, and we saw that year over year, the consumption and understanding of data has fallen because part of this is that people don't know how to consume the vast amounts of data that's available to them. And really what we're seeing is that data-driven organizations fueled by AI and planning with context and intelligence on their data are really moving forward. So really the idea is to have, become a data-driven organization. But when you are data-driven, have context to your logic and your data so that you understand what it is. The next piece of this is having Gen AI enabled upon your data. It might not be possible right now for you, but it is something that is possible starting tomorrow and the day after, because if you're not doing it, your competitors are. And finally, the last piece of this is that making, as I mentioned before, bringing context and usefulness to your data so that you understand the clarity and the vision for what it is and where it can take you as well, so that it's not meaningless. As we move on, the one trend I want to talk about is something called a business data fabric. Now, I'm guessing that many of you have never heard of this topic, but it is a hot topic within the data and data profession. In the past, and for many of us in the FP&A space, we're used to a concept of a data warehouse, where all of our data is stored and we go through archaic means of trying to access it. And, we don't often trust it. We don't know where it is and what's happening with it. And, how useful and relevant the information often is, depending on what's actually in there. But a business data fabric is a new concept that our friends in the Office of the Chief Data Officer are using to drive better business outcomes. What a business data fabric is, it's modern, it's new, and it eliminates the old way of thinking of a data warehouse. Rather, it accepts the fact that data exists everywhere. And it also accepts the fact that data exists in your ERP, in your HR systems, in your CRM systems. But it also accepts the fact that you might not be on one single vendor platform. It also accepts the fact that you may have external sources of data through an acquisition or GDP data or commodity data that you want to use for driver-based planning that is out there that you can't readily consume. Talk to your CIO, talk to your data department about a business data fabric. It is something very easily available that leading cloud vendors are providing that easily integrate into your planning systems in a relevant way that make your planning data that much more accessible, trusted, and real time, so that you don't have to go through batch processes. You don't have to, look at just 10 dimensions of data and, can't think outside the box or whatnot. With the business data fabric, which again is very readily available, it stitches together all of your data that is meaningful to you as a finance department in a real-time manner, in a trusted manner, with context, so that you can use this to drive better decisions. And with this, we move on to the next benefit of a business data fabric and data strategy: AI adoption. We've heard a lot about AI in the marketplace. It was just a year ago where ChatGPT was introduced, and since then, this space has caught on like wildfire. Many of us use it for research, for writing, and things of that nature, and we're going to continue to use it. And the reality is that I'm sure if you're, as FP&A and as finance, you're looking for use cases in terms of, how do I get started with AI? It doesn't have to be a big bang approach. It can be small, consumable approach. Every modern cloud-based planning vendor out there has an AI strategy and a generative AI strategy as well for you. But there's no point to AI if you can't trust the data in your underlying source systems, if you can't trust your large language models or whatnot. Otherwise, this information in this tool is completely meaningless. So I illustrated before the concept and the idea of the business data fabric, which is available very easily. Once you've set the stage for a business data fabric, a data strategy to help you as finance, it's easy to adopt AI use cases on top of that. And the reality with Gen AI use cases is they can do so much for you. It can do things such as with natural language query your data set, your actuals, your plans, your budgets, your forecasts, ask questions about variances, ask questions about analysis, predictive forecasts, or whatnot. It lets you communicate with your data in an easily consumable manner. More than that, what generative AI also lets you do is make day-to-day tasks really easy. Let you do things such as ask for reports to be written in a way that it was done before, in previous reports. So you don't have to sit there querying reports, setting up spreadsheets and things of that nature. You can just ask. The next piece of AI is that it can lead to other factors such as automation and other results. So with that, I'm going to talk about the next trend. Automation. Once you have your data set and once you have AI deployed, automation is the next logical step of AI and deployments, and a great use case. In finance and in FP&A, for the longest time, we've always been at the cutting edge of automation. Whether it's simple tasks we've leveraged in Microsoft Excel, such as macros to make simple tasks rudimentary for us and easily available for us. So we spend less time in the planning and aggregating of data and more time in the analysis. But now, modern cloud-based planning tools allow for process automation, where you as finance users, without the need for IT, can effectively, in a drag and drop manner, build your complete finance process for budgets, for forecasts, with notifications, with permutations and combinations of who should be included, who should be excluded, doing anomaly checks of your data in a real-time manner, and really, having an RPA, robotic process automation, built into your planning tool, and easily, and have AI embedded directly in there. But more important than anything else, this is managed by finance, and you can build as many complexities as you want and anomalies without any single need for coding. So with that in mind, I'm going to move to a totally different topic area, but something that's quite interesting for finance moving forward. So this is the area of ESG and finance. ESG goes by many names: environmental, social, governance, or whatnot. But this is an area we're seeing is really hot for finance right now. There's a lot of tools that help people capture it. So the idea is that we as finance are often reporting financial metrics and operational metrics, reporting variances in this area as well, and looking at that data and making meaningful recommendations based on it. But there's an ask now often for FP&A and for finance to report on ESG. Why? Because the world is changing around us. There's many employees that we want to attract, especially the younger generation, that want to know what your values are as an organization. Are you aligned in terms of the values that they as employees might want for you as an employer? So ESG reporting helps manage this. There's also stakeholder and investor relationships. Many investment funds out there want to know what our organizational values are before they invest in us as well. This also lets us become integral in FP&A because We've covered the whole spectrum of planning and analysis, as well as ESG data across the enterprise. And by reporting it and leading it, it positions us as leaders. And finally, the most important, our customers. It lets customers know who we are as a business with our very streamlined and easy reporting, so that they know that our brand is aligned with their brand as well, and we help build more sustainability and loyalty for our customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Pras, for covering so many trends in very concise and to the point presentation. Thank you for that. And it allows us to move to the first polling question of the evening or of the day for some of us, related obviously to the topic. So the first polling question goes like that. Let me launch it. Let me launch it for all of us. It's obviously related to data quality and data fabric. So how confident you are with data quality within your organization's data fabric? And we have several options here. Data is consistently accurate and reliable. Data quality is generally good with occasional issues. Concerns about data accuracy exist, or significant doubts about data accuracy. So several levels of confidence. So how confident are you in the data quality within your organization's data fabric? I'm very curious to know the answer. And actually, I see that majority of you have already voted. So let me close this poll and share the results with all of us. So what do we see here? We see that 60% of the audience believes that data quality is generally good with occasional issues. Quite a strong answer. And at 27% have concerns about data accuracy. And 6 and 7%, actually, same number with quite polar answers. So 6% believe that data is consistently accurate and reliable, while 7% believe that significant doubts about data accuracy. What do you think, Pras? Are you surprised with those results?
I'm not surprised, because at the end of the day, we shouldn't settle for generally good with occasional issues, and we should be worried if data accuracy exists, and especially we have doubts about the accuracy. I mean, with the technology available nowadays with business data fabrics and data lakes and whatnot, we should all have access to completely 100% trustworthy and excellent quality data upon which we can make meaningful decisions. We shouldn't be settling. That's the best way to put it.
Well, that's very nice way to look at it. Thank you, Pras, for your comment. And it brings us to our discussion of the evening. So let's see what I want to discuss with all of you. What steps are needed for the finance function to fully adopt and effectively influence decision-making through data? So again, related to data, but not only to quality, but to much broader aspects of this topic. And let me start here with you, Svetlana. What do you think?
So I'm going to link it to the topic of my presentation. I'm going to say that storytelling and influence are very important. Once you solve for the data accuracy and stability, you need to be able to tell your story and make sure that people arrive at the right decision.
Well, that makes a nice bridge to the upcoming section. And indeed, having quality data is not enough. You should be able to extract insights from it and present them. And moving on to you, Karina, what do you think? What steps we need as a finance function to actually actively use data in decision making?
Yeah, I'm going to build on Svetlana's answer. I think to do the right storytelling, we need to pick the right data points and communicate them clearly. It's great that 60% feel very confident about their data. I'm very happy to see that. I would have voted the same bucket, mostly good, every once in a while some concerns, but it's key to pick and select the right data and distill it down for decision making.
Right. Thank you for this answer. And back to you, Pras. I know that you have answered this question to a certain extent through your presentation, but if you can add something, please do.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would say is many organizations, many of you in the audience are adopting a finance transformation strategy. And I would say that as you embark on finance transformation, data transformation needs to be a part of that as well. So a data architect needs to be available as part of your overall finance and FP&A transformation to see how you can break out of the mold of your current reporting and you can serve your business constituents better.
Indeed. If we have defined the final state, we certainly need a way to get there and to go through this transition or transformation. Let's move on to our second presentation of the event, and it will be presented by Svetlana Sigalova on the topic Strategic Partnership Skill Set. Svetlana, it is yours.
Thank you so much. I will be talking about strategic business partnering, an area that is very close to my heart, and the real trend that we're seeing in the space that I'm in the biotech and pharma industry. So we are seeing a shift from traditional transactional FP&A support to strategic business partner. And what do I mean by that? Transactional support is your traditional number crunching. It is sending that monthly or quarterly standalone report. It is meetings that are focused on numbers only. It's engaging in FP&A related topics only, and so forth. At the same time, what is strategic business partnering? Strategic business partner is someone who helps to orchestrate the decision making through appropriate channels and who helps to steer these decisions across the organization outside of finance only. Strategic business partner has input and influence outside of the FP&A space and is asked to engage and weigh in on matters outside of the traditional FP&A world, right? So outside of just the finance topics. Previously, the number crunching and staying in the FP&A lane alone was enough to gain the seat at the table, right? To be in that seat of the leadership team within your function. What we're seeing is that the expectations within my industry have been raised. Our business partners want someone who is well informed on all matters in the company, regardless of FP&A areas of expertise, right? So what it means is that I'm expected to weigh in on R&D portfolio spend and R&D decisions when I sit on the commercial leadership team. I'm expected to weigh in on how we're tracking on headcount as a company, right? Even though I support only commercial at the moment, and so forth. It's someone who is able and willing to jump into discussion that does not traditionally involve finance. It's someone who can help to steer the leadership team to the right decision and execution of those decisions, most importantly. FP&A is expected to act as a one-stop consulting shop, right? So you need to understand the business case, generate the data, craft the story, pre-align the stakeholders, and support execution of the decision made as we continue. That's what collaborative decision-making is. How often did you arrive at the conclusion but couldn't get your business partner aligned? Right? It goes back to generating insights itself is not enough. It goes back to that simple standalone report. It's explaining the what are the drivers, why do they matter to diverse audiences, which are often the audience that have nothing to do with finance, right? They're not as well versed in the P&L language as you are. They might not understand the drivers, or most importantly, they might not think that those drivers or the insights you've generated applies to them. So what if the headcount for the company is running behind or running above? How does it matter to me? My supply chain is still running smooth, right? So it's making sure that you can deliver the message to the audience in the right way that can speak to them, that can get them to arrive to the right decision that you want them to take, to then become to start speaking on your behalf, right? It's on the collaborative decision making. It's very hard to sell the decision that you made on your own. You need to bring your business partners with you to make sure they understand everything. Right? You need to make sure that your business partner is arriving at the same conclusion and can reinforce that conclusion when they're not within your reach, right? When they're speaking to other people, whether it's one-on-one or in large groups. And what becomes very important when you think about all those points above is to focus on the storytelling and influence, right? And we're seeing this trend when it comes to all aspects of business partnering. Let's take budget, for example, right? The most traditional FP&A support, FP&A bread and butter, so to speak. It's what we're seeing within our industry is it's not enough to simply present the numbers, right? Just to say this is my budget and this is my headcount and this is what it means in terms of numbers. You need to reframe OpEx as investment. You need to link those investments to desired outcomes that are aligned with the company's objective. You need to explain to Chief Commercial Officer or CFO or CEO or the head of R&D why those investments matter and why they need to be advocating for those investments on your behalf, which brings us nicely to the next slide on the storytelling. So on to the storytelling. First and foremost, what is the storytelling when it comes to FP&A? It's transforming that intricate financial data that you have generated into compelling narratives that drive decision, right? So it's generating the insights that drive the decision making. It's making sure that you can move on from consolidation to the critical analysis, from that standalone report to the so what question, and then move from the critical analysis onto the storytelling, right? Why do they matter? Storytelling is a very critical part of strategic business partnering. It's going back to that one-stop consulting shop comment that I made earlier. You need to run the analysis, you need to generate the insights, you need to figure out how to package them and help to align your stakeholders along the way, right? Back to what are the drivers, why does it matter, and what can be done. So what is the story that we should tell? I very often tell my business partners, I say, tell me the story that we're trying to tell the business and we will make the numbers work, right? That's the definition of transforming the data into the engaging narratives. One of the examples that I can use with the human resources, right? Human resources very often focused on FTE, on full-time employee tracking or headcount tracking, while finance is focused on converting those heads into actual numbers, right? Into headcount-related expenses. So what does it mean if we're running behind on headcount, right? In the industry that I'm in, it's very often that our eyes are bigger than the stomach and we project higher, faster headcount ramp up that would actually happen, right? So transforming it into a world with HR, you can say it means we can invest more into benefits and employees' well-being as a result. Now you're building the story that HR has real interest in and they have real need in, and they will be advocating on your behalf, right? Versus just saying that headcount related expenses are underspent. That doesn't necessarily mean anything to HR. That would be storytelling through data, right? And so as a result, you're starting to foster informed choices through the storytelling, and you're starting to move to the influencing part of the business. So moving on to influencing, right? So what does influencing mean in the world of FP&A? It's guiding the strategic direction of your business partners, their functions and functions around them. It's making sure that your stakeholders speak on your behalf at all times. It's being in the room where when you start telling your story and your business partners jump in and support it, right? There is nothing better than when you have someone from HR or from supply chain or from commercial, from marketing, that can speak to the numbers on their own because they understand the story that you're trying to tell. Influencing is not a simple skill, right? It requires leveraging financial expertise and interpersonal skills. It's making sure that you can steer senior executives, again, people who are often above you, towards the decisions that are aligned with the company objective. It requires emotional intelligence, ability to cultivate collaborative relationships, and it requires a lot of maintenance at all times. So building strong relationships across organization is key. Understanding what makes those people tick, getting to know them better, right? Making sure that you can talk to them ahead of the meeting, that you can pre-align the stakeholders. It's merging that FP&A storytelling with strategic networking, and once again, fostering the data-centric culture. Very often, finance is one of the more junior people at the table when it comes to the leadership team. So you are navigating complex environments without that formal authority, right? Those people don't report to you. They're not even in your function. Yet you need to make sure that they can speak to the numbers, they can speak on your behalf, and that they are constantly steering the company into the right direction, even when you're not with them, right? Supply chain objectives are different from HR, different from commercial, different from marketing, different from finance, and so forth, right? So storytelling through data and influencing go hand in hand when it comes to all of the FP&A key skill sets. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Svetlana, for covering FP&A skill set and strategical FP&A skill set we certainly need the next year and beyond. That brings us nicely to our poll question number 2. But before I launch that, I want to remind you to send questions to our panelists. Feel free to do so. Feel free to ask Pras, Svetlana, or Karina anything you're interested in. You don't have to wait for their presentations to come out. And meanwhile, let's move on to our polling question number 2. This is obviously related to our skill set. And what I want to ask you is, which skill do you consider the most important in upcoming 2024? And we have several options here. data analysis and data science, influencing without authority, data storytelling, or collaborative decision making. So let's see, which skill do you consider the most important in the upcoming year? Is it data analysis and data science? Should we get more technical? Or it's on the contrary, influencing without authority? Shall we get more social? Is it data storytelling or is it collaborative decision making? Thank you so much for voting so fast. Already most of you have voted, so I can close this poll and share the results with everyone. Quite an interesting result, almost even results here. 30% for collaborative decision making, 28 for data storytelling, 22 for data analysis and data science, and 20 for influencing without authority. Svetlana, what do you think about those results?
It's pretty evenly distributed. It's interesting to see, right? I think influencing without storytelling, it's really hard. So you really need them to go hand in hand. And that results in the collaborative decision making. So it all makes sense. This is the same way I would vote if I had a choice.
It's nice. It's hard to split them, but people had to pick the one most important, and it's important that all of them are actually considered important for the next year. Let's move on to our second discussion of the evening. Thank you all for joining me on the camera here. So let's speak about how can we keep our skill set competitive, especially in the evolving stages of business growth and maturity. For our organizations develop, how can we develop ourselves to keep up? And let me start with you, Karina, here. What do you think?
I think there's two key traits. I think we have to be and stay curious and challenge ourselves. I think the time when we start settling, we stop being curious and we think we have a good understanding of everything in the business, that's when we lose our competitive edge. I think no matter where you are in your career, how senior you are, how many years experience you have, you need to stay curious and challenge yourself.
Wow, thank you for this answer. You certainly named skills that allow us to gain all the remaining skills. Thank you for that. And let me move on to you, Pras. What do you think? What we can do to keep our skill set competitive?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, a couple of different ones. I think there's soft skills, there's also technical skills. From a soft skill standpoint, I think I really love storytelling. I think that if you as a finance individual are able to bring storytelling as a complementary skill to your skill sets of understanding all of the information and data in front of you, it gives you a seat at the table and really helps you influence the direction and that you want to, lead your company into, your organization into. Beyond that as well, I think data is getting really big. It's getting massive, and I think there's an ability for all of us in finance to start, dabbling back in what we learned in data. Maybe some statistical analysis, regression analysis, nothing rocket science, but just so that we have a better understanding of when AI and ML models come into us, we could understand the algorithms a little bit more and a little bit better for explainability.
Perfect. Thank you for this answer. And back to you, Svetlana. You've already covered a lot of that, but how exactly can we keep our skill set competitive?
So I couldn't echo more what Karina and Pras have said, right? I think curiosity and storytelling is super important. I would like to take also a slightly different approach. Finance is finance, right? P&L is P&L, sales is sales, and in the industry that you go to, learn the business. Make sure that you can tell the stories through numbers that matters to them, right? It might be packaging P&L differently for supply chain versus HR, right? Because those are the things that matter differently. So I think learning the business will really help you to differentiate yourself as long as you have the storytelling and curiosity on top of that.
Wow, thank you for this sense, and it connects it nicely to business partnering that was at the beginning of our discussion, really connecting it to the business, understanding them and being here for them. Let's move on, because the only thing we know that will be needed next year is actually change itself, and ability to cope with change, to manage change is becoming more and more important. Our next presentation will be given by Karina Williams on the topic of change management and cooperation. Karina, it is yours.
Thank you very much. So my pre-speakers, Pras and Svetlana, talked a little bit about the change that will be coming in 2024. Pras talked about generative AI adoption in general, which is going to be a big thing. automation, and also EHG, which needs to force us for different thinking. Svetlana talked about the need for strategic business partnering, and Olga shared some statistics about the change that's coming too. So, and there's more, right? This is not an exclusive list. There will be changes in the economy, which often really influence how we do our jobs, what's important, how we prioritize. And we can't underestimate the personal changes that can also influence our work life that we have to deal with. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how we can deal with change and what change means for our team. So if you go to the next page, there is always the good and the bad, right? So we have the good thing about change, in my mind, it's really the excitement that comes with this. There's a newness that comes with change. It keeps us on our toes. And it kind of gets us a little bit about our day-to-day life. So that's good. It also allows us and gives us a little bit more permission for different ways of thinking, right? Which is, again, also a very good thing here that I like about change. And it allows us to push for things we want to achieve and we have been wanting to achieve faster, right? So these are all really good things that get me very excited about changes. But then there's also the bad. There is the uncertainty that comes with change when people don't really know what's going on, how it's going to impact them personally. There's a distraction, and when people keep thinking about what the change will do to them, what it means, people might spend more time thinking about the change rather than doing their job. People might be so distracted that they might make more mistakes. They might feel lost. They're wondering, where's my place in all of this? How can I add more value? Things are different now. And some also might feel a lack of ownership and control, right? Change is something that's being done to me, not something that I'm doing. And I want to talk to you about some examples. One, in a prior job, we've been going through a lot of organizational changes. We were going through transition in the organization, and I noticed at the time that my team spent a lot of time just thinking about what's going on, how it will impact them. They were unhappy. They were very, very distracted, not super efficient. Another example I want to talk to you about is when we implemented a new tool. It often seems like a small thing or enhancement of the tool, but my team got really nervous about it. They were worried about what the tool will do to their day-to-day. They lost what is familiar to them. So if you go to the next page, I want to walk you through these examples a little bit and what I did in these scenarios. So the first, 5 pages. The first scenario was on the organizational changes. So again, I was in a prior company. We've been through a big divestiture, a big transition for the team. And I really had to focus my team on pushing for the change, be with me, not being too distracted. So what I did, I really focused on the opportunity here, right? Like, how could I double down and harvest the good things of the change and not losing the bad ones? So what I did, I focused on over-communicating all the steps of the way, right? Once we knew that divestiture was coming, before anything really happened, I shared what I know, I shared what I don't know yet, and I also shared what I know, but I'm not allowed to say for confidentiality, legal reasons, etc. I noticed that just sharing where we are on the steps, as soon as I had information, took a lot of the guesswork out of it. It felt people like they're part of the journey, and it also allowed for less distraction because they didn't have to go get their own information from who they know. I shared all the information that there was, right? So they could take that information and then go back to focus on their job. I also talked to all my direct team members one-on-one. I try to make them be allies of the cause, right? So I set them down for as much time it took and addressed their concerns, focused and tried to figure out what they might be excited about, and then doubled down on that. And I asked them to do the same thing with their team and their direct reports. So I kind of made them allies and spokespeople for the change that we're going through. And that also gave them a little bit of ownership and control of the change. Even though there was a lot they can't control, they felt like they had a say, which they did. We took their feedback very seriously, which is really key here. There were hard decisions to be made when we did the divestiture. It also came with layoffs, which is clearly a tricky topic. So there were two types of relationship bond breaking, right? The one was that the divestiture itself came with people leaving the company, and the other one came with layoffs in the what was left, so to say. To me, the key here was two things. A, not lie about it, right? We can't tell people everything will be fine when we know layoffs are coming, and move with speed. To me, there's nothing more anxiety-inducing for my team members and distracting when they know layoffs are coming, but they don't know when, how much, or what. Right? So to me, really, the speed there was key. Move fast, communicate clearly when it's done, and then they can take a breath and focus again. Another example I want to talk about is that I've been through in a prior company with systems changes. And I think that one is a really interesting one also now when we talk about AI and what that will do to our team's job. With system changes, I think we often underestimate the impact they have on the team. So again, in a prior company, we implemented a budget tool. And to me, that was something that was very asked for. Everybody wanted a budget tool, wanted to get off of Excel. But once we actually did it, a lot of people were worried about how they will impact their budget. Will they still have all the control that they had in Excel? Will they have the visibility? Will the tool do something that they don't know? Will there be, budgeting is a big thing in FP&A. Svetlana talked about this too. Does it mean they don't really have to budget anymore? Will their job be replaced or part of their job be replaced with this tool now? So there was a much higher degree of nervousness and anxiety than I expected. And I can see a similar impact coming from the AI transition that we will see in 2024 and beyond. And what my lessons learned and what I tried to pivot after I realized that there was much more nervousness than excitement after we actually announced that the tool will come, was also here, inform the team early. How did we make the decision? What will come? Give them time to familiarize themselves with the tool. Let them talk to people who have used this tool in the past, listen to their feedback, and really mean it. Really key is consistency. And we cannot just tell people, like, don't worry, you asked for it to deal with this. The fears are real. The fears are valid, and we need to address them in whatever way they come. And the other group I want to talk about is our business partners when we do change, right? And Svetlana talked about strategic business partnering, and it's so important for change. We need to take our business partners with us. Even if it's something like a budget tool that might impact our business partners less, they want to see the budget, they want to see the numbers, how their business is doing. It is so important to take them with us from day one, to tell them what's coming, to explain them the rationale, address their questions, listen to their feedback, because we want them to be our allies along the way. If our teams have concerns, if our teams are not bought in, if they have any hesitations, if then our business partners come back to them and then advocate for the tool or whatever change we're doing, it's going to be so impactful to you as a manager of your team and also your business partner, right? Because they feel like they have a say, and they do, and we cannot ignore their voice. So in summary, when I want to talk to you about how we want to deal with change, take your teams and your business partners with you, right? Don't surpass them. Don't think everybody wants it. Everybody knows what's going on. Validate their emotions. This one is a big one for me. Don't just tell them it's fine, just deal with it. Validate the fear and address it, and then collaborate on all the solutions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Karina, for helping us to get ready to many changes that await us in the upcoming year. Thank you for this. For all of you who want to ask Karina a question, it's not too late. The same, it's not too late to ask Pras or Svetlana a question. Just drop it into our chat box. Meanwhile, we are moving to the last discussion of the evening, and it will be related to, obviously, change management. So the question I want to ask all our panelists is, in your opinion, what is a pivotal factor in effective change management? And I will start with you, Pras, here. What do you think? What is a pivotal factor?
Yeah, I think the pivotal factor, more than anything to me, is organizational and leadership buy-in. I mean, if you get the support of your CFO or your VP of Finance and your C-suite, those people who can help influence the decisions and really, make sure your change management and your change, goes across the enterprise versus just in a siloed manner, it'll, make it a much more easier and streamlined and adopted process.
Thank you for this, and I've noticed that all of us were nodding while listening to you. So let's see if ladies have something to add here. Svetlana, what do you think? What is a pivotal factor in effective change management?
I want to build upon what Karina has said previously. I think communication, honesty, and integrity are key, right? It's not enough to just have your executive team behind you, like Pras said. If you cannot communicate effectively and get your people, right, the junior staff that's below you or at your level to come along, the change will not happen.
Nice. Karina, if you have anything to add, please do.
Yeah, I can just echo it. It's a 360 view. You need to take everybody with you, communicate, and really address the fears and concerns everybody has. They're valid, and we owe it to our teams to take them with us and not force something upon them.
Nice. Thank you for those answers. This nice discussion could be actually the end of this webinar. But before we do that, let's summarize all the skills we have discussed. We have covered many skills in the areas of data, technology, landscape, skill set, and processes. And what I want to do before Q&A session is one more bit. Discuss key takeaways with you. My dear panelists, if you want the audience to remember only one key idea from the whole event, what this will be for you? And here I would start with you, Svetlana. What was the key idea from the whole event for you?
It's important to stay on top of those trends because you can become obsolete very quickly if you don't follow, especially in the FP&A world where the latest technology, the latest trend, business partnering is always driving the business.
Nice. Thank you for this conclusion. Karina, what do you think? What is a key takeaway for you?
Change is coming. Try to lean into it rather than against it. Try to be part of the solution and the change and try to drive it as much as you feel comfortable with.
Perfect. Pras, what can you add?
The status quo is no longer possible. It needs to be eliminated. And we all know data is a new gold, and finance has to be in the forefront of mining it for effective decision making.
Wow, nice. And it brings us to our Q&A session. Thank you so much for all of you who have sent questions to our chat. I actually have seen many of that. Here, let me start actually with you, Pras. You were the first one to present, so I'll start with you and actually have questions related directly to you and to Business Data Fabric. So someone is asking, what challenges have you faced in implementing Business Data Fabric in practice with your clients, and how will these challenges overcome?
Yeah, so I think the challenge often comes from finance departments not knowing what's out there. I think it's, we're so conditioned often to work with our ERP data. We have our processes, it's very scheduled. We do our budgets this time, our forecasts at that time. Rather, we're very reactionary versus being proactive in terms of when and how to use data. So I think the challenge often is not knowing what's out there. So for me, the technology is easy. That can be overcome. I mean, any modern cloud-based planning tool should be able to seamlessly in real time integrate with a business data fabric and get you your information spot on right away. But I think the challenge is, what is that information? So I think it makes sense to do an inventory of your data to see what you need, but what else you can need to drive effective decision making. I think so. It's not a technical challenge. It's really breaking out of your process mold.
Right, perfect. I actually have a question related to Svetlana's topic specifically as well, and that is about skill set. So how do you bridge the gap between technical expertise of data scientists with our specific knowledge in FP&A, and how to ensure effective collaboration between these two sides? Data science versus finance.
Data science versus finance. So I think, luckily for all of us, storytelling is seen as an important skill set across the industries right now. So there is a ton of classes that you can take to help you with the storytelling, right? Even specific to finance, right? So storytelling through data is a big topic. I want to reiterate learning the business, right? So if you can understand what drivers the business cares about and then can synthesize information to those drivers through the financial analysis, right? And again, it's speaking something like, hey, in supply chain, what are the yields that we're getting and how does it compare to the forecast, right? Stop forecasting just the production, start forecasting the yields that goes into the driver-based model, right? That will allow to connect the data with the financial information and merge the two, and then tell the analysis that the business partner cares about.
Well, thank you for this answer, and thank you for going into the area of business drivers and driver-based planning. Indeed, I think the key lies somewhere there to actually start working together using data for quality finance forecasts. Let me give a good question to Karina here, again related to change and change management. Even though you have covered that, there is a interest in more specific strategies, probably how to take your business partners with you, how to foster this collaboration between FP&A and other departments when undergoing a change.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what type of change you're addressing, on how you take your business partner with you. I think for all of the change, as a general comment, really telling them about the change that you think your team will go through sooner rather than later and how you think it will impact your team is a key one, right? Talk to them, inform them, share with them concerns that you have that your team might have. So again, if these concerns come up in business meetings and meetings you're not in, that your team has with their business partners, that they can hopefully be an advocate for the change, right? And that they can help address these concerns for you. I think that is exceedingly valuable. But then really think about the specific change that you're driving and how it might impact them. Tell them anything about how their team will be impacted, by how your direct reports will be impacted, and really communicate from day one. Don't wait until you're halfway through implementing a change. They feel left out, they won't become advocates, and you will lose a great opportunity to create or deepen a relationship. Really start from day one. Focus on the timing.
Perfect. Thank you all for those answers. Here comes almost philosophical question, which I want to ask all of you. And that question relates, we spoke a lot about understanding the business, learning the business to be truly helpful to our business. So the question is, what do you think about for FP&A to understand the business as a whole or different parts of the business? So really contrasting these two, holistic understanding of the business or understanding its separate parts. Let's start with you, Svetlana, here. What do you think?
You're going to need both, right? You need to understand what makes the function that you're supporting tick, and you need to understand how it falls into the greater picture, right? I do not know how you can understand just the silos and be effective in your FP&A role, whether it's a functional business partner or corporate or risk assessment or anything, right? You need to understand both, and ideally, as you're progressing through a career, you're moving from one function to another, right? You're getting that cross-training until you figure out what makes your tick and what makes the business tick. So both, unfortunately.
Nice. Unfortunately, that's a hard work for all of us. Karina, if you have anything to add, or maybe you can give us more specific advice how to achieve that, to actually have both.
Yeah, I definitely both. If you just have one or the other, you're missing a piece, right? And how to achieve this for the specific business, to me, that's a little easier, but you have to get out there, right? If you're just always behind your desk looking at your spreadsheets, it's really hard to understand the business, right? Get out there, talk to people, talk to operations, talk to sales, listen to their challenges, listen to what makes them tick, what upsets them, what's hard for them, to really understand what you're supporting. Like, spend time with on every layer, not just your business partner, their direct reports, spend time with everybody, and go out there and travel as much as you can to actually see what's going on in the field. And then the big picture is a little harder for most of us to get, right? It's a little bit more esoteric. We don't have as much exposure. Ask questions is my biggest advice for you. When you have a meeting or something with someone from a business unit for something you haven't been exposed to, set up a coffee chat. Ask them about what their challenges are, what is their issues, what really is great about their business. Ask questions wherever you can and every time you have exposure. and then connect the dots. If you struggle to connect the dots, talk to your manager about it. Have them connect the dots for you. But it's really, you got to be curious, ask questions, and understand where one thing comes in and what that means for everybody else.
Well, thank you for that really big piece of advice to all of us coming to the next year and how we can get better in our skill set. Pras, what do you think? Maybe you can bring technology and go to answer as well. So how we can gain this business understanding of different parts and as a whole?
Yeah, and I'll try both. I mean, obviously from a whole, it makes sense. You need to understand the whole business, not just your overall business overall, but the external factors, the competitive landscape, and how that impacts your business as well. So that, it ties into other things we talked about, becoming a better storyteller, giving a narrative to your numbers as well. But understanding the, the myopic nature of the different lanes of your business, the different lines of businesses as well, that's vastly important as well. I mean, even from a planning and budgeting standpoint, I mean, I think, we've all had many sessions that we've talked about for things like driver-based planning. I mean, how can you even approach driver-based planning if you don't understand what the drivers are that affect your business and you can make recommendations on those drivers, or if you can't even stare at the drivers and know if it's credible or not? So I think that, you require the whole, both everything at a large scale as well as a small scale, but definitely it's imperative that finance does this.
Perfect. Thank you all for all your insights, for helping us to look into upcoming trends, and for obviously sharing your wisdom with us how we can get prepared. Please stay on the camera for me. And what I want to do next is several things. First of all, we have used several slides from our FP&A Trends survey. It contains much more insights into FP&A Trends and beyond. So if you want to read the survey, please follow the link which will be available in your presentations. The second thing I want to share is actually our FP&A Trends maturity model. That's quite an interesting self-evaluation tool, so you can play with it. And if you want to do that, the link is available as well. We have one more upcoming webinar this year on December 13th, and that one will be devoted to 5 critical roles for building a world-class FP&A team. So if you are interested in this topic, you certainly can still register for that one. Let me thank our sponsor for making this event possible, SAP, one of the world's leading providers of modern FP&A solutions. If you want to connect with us, if you want to connect with FP&A Trends, there are several ways to do so. You can use, obviously, our website and receive our digest regularly. Besides that, you can connect to our LinkedIn group. You can follow us on YouTube or on X as well. So please, after the webinar will end, don't leave just yet. Fill in a short survey for us. Your feedback is important to make upcoming webinars even better. Thank you all of you for being with us at this event, for listening to our speakers, experts, learning about upcoming trends. I hope that you find these insights useful. Big thank you to all of our panelists for sharing your wisdom with us. Have a good day, have a good evening, and see you in the next year. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.